सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Om, may He protect us both. May we both enjoy together. May we both exert together. May our studies become brilliant. May we not become disputatious and hate each other. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Everybody, welcome to the Bhajagovindam classes sessions, online sessions. So many people have asked us that how long these sessions are going to last. There are 31 verses, so I can't say that it will take 31 sessions. It can go faster or slower depending on the content. Whenever you are learning a grantha or a scriptural text, we should never focus from the point of view of when it will end. Because as soon as you are talking about when it will end, you are putting a prime time for your time rather than the scriptures, which should not be the case. So you listen as much as you can, and whenever you can give yourself a deadline saying that, I listen for three lectures or 6 lectures or 10 lectures, and if you find it interesting and it's helping you more, go ahead with it. Otherwise, stop it. It's up to you, right? So the other factor is this kind of a talk, the Bhajagovindam sessions, what we are going to do. It cannot be an interactive session. It cannot be an interactive because it's the text is given by Adi Shankaracharya. We'll get into the details of it, and it can't be an attitude where we say that the text is given by Adi Shankaracharya and therefore it will take X amount of time. Therefore, I want to ask questions in between. So it is not an interactive session, at least the lectures, but I would really advise you to write down whatever you feel should be written down. And any questions, you are more than welcome to ask in the WhatsApp group which they have formed. And I will get that question. And based on that, I will give the answer in the subsequent lectures if I know the answer, right? So we'll start the class. This is one text. Bhajagovindam is one text where I don't know why it is not really taken very seriously. For a simple reason that it starts and ends with a sing-song fashion. Right? This is one rare text other than the Bhagavad Gita or a Ramayana for that matter, the Granthas, where at any age group, people can attune to it. So a 5-year-old child can also sing the Bhajagovindam rhythm and get into the rhyme and rhythm of it and starts enjoying the text. Teenager also, there's a lot of lessons to learn from them. And even a middle-aged person as well as the old person, a senior person. So it caters to everyone and everybody. It's as simple as that. Bhajagovindam is given by a great master called Adi Shankaracharya. Adi means the premier Shankaracharya. There have been a lot of Shankaracharyas, and Adi is the premier Shankaracharya, the first Shankaracharya. And he is given X amount of stories, X amount of books written. Bhaja Govindam is one of the famous ones because it's easier to communicate, it's easier to chant, and this is one text which doesn't talk extremely about Atma, Paramatma, and all those things, those concepts. It is more focused on a human being's life. Each one of us are caught or enmeshed in our own problems, entangled in our own problems. And all the problems keep on seeing the same thing. It is very difficult to understand. I can't get the solution. I can't get the solution. Until we are in the problem, we can't see the solution. But the solution is given easily by somebody else who is outside the problem. So as a grahastha, as a person who is spiritually inclined towards the studies of the scriptures, Adi Shankaracharya is as if standing on the presence of it, outside this preview, and examining it, which is called an objective view towards everything that is happening around. So it is not a grahastha, a person living in the world, who is talking about Bhaja Govindam. It is about a sannyasi who has relinquished everything with an attitude that this is not to be taken so seriously. Remember, it is never said in the Shastras that it is not important. All they say is the amount of seriousness which we go through, it should not be taken that much seriousness. So Adi Shankaracharya was a young boy, and at a very later age of 8 years, young boy, he decided that he wants to become a sannyasi. His father was already a teacher, so he was learning the Shastras. But that fire lit him. I said, I want to go and learn and become a sannyasi. But the father expired and the mother was left alone. And the mother said, no, you're not supposed to go. And the Shastras say you can only go with the blessings of your mother or anybody, any elder for that matter. The story is, once upon a time, Adi Shankaracharya was taking bath in a pond, and as he was taking bath with one of his friends, a crocodile came and caught his leg, and the crocodile dragged Shankara down. The friend ran and told the mother that Shankara is about to die because the crocodile is dragged him. And the mother comes rushing and she sees Shankara, and Shankara says, Mom, I am dying. Before death, please grant me my wish and give me sannyasa. Tell me I can go. So she says, okay, anyway, you can go to sannyasa. As soon as she said that, the crocodile left the leg of Shankara and it went away. This is a miracle which is attributed in Adi Shankaracharya's life. Because without miracle, we can't understand. We need to show a Shirdi Sai Baba with a cauldron full of oil and he's doing it with his hand. Only then we consider somebody a spiritual person. We always never consider somebody a spiritual person who's basically peaceful and trying to be the best he or she can be, which according to Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual person, a realized person. We attribute miracles, and that's what people need to attribute. So this was one miracle in Shankara's life. For us who are logically minded, we can understand from the point of view of in the Shastras, whenever they say graha or crocodile, it represents the world with its vice-like teeth holding on to you or any person for that matter. Till the last will not let you go. That attitude of desire will never let you go. I am happy now, but if I get that, I will be happy. Even at the ripe age of 80 or 90 or 100, even when the body is melting away, there is nothing else in the world to live for. Yet the person will fight for his last breath. I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up. So this tendency is always there in all human beings. So this vice leg, it will not allow. If I see my son's marriage, I'll be happy. If I see my grandson's birth, I'll be happy. If I see my grandson's marriage, I'll be happy. If I see it will go on, it will never end. Yamaraja literally has a rope in his hand. He has to put that rope around you and take you forcibly away. Nobody is ready to go. So this kind of a hold is there in a human being. And that, when you say, I want sannyasa, sannyasa, the meaning of sannyasa is equi-minded, where the mind is not agitated with whatever circumstances and situations the person faces. Such a situation, when you reach sannyasa, the world gives up its grip. That's the meaning. Then this young kid walks away and he goes to the river Narmada, by the banks of Narmada river. There he meets a teacher, his own teacher, Gaudapada. And at that time, when he meets the teacher, he says, please take me a sannyasi, give me sannyas. An 8-year-old boy, then we are talking about the 12th century, and then for an 8-year-old boy to ask for sannyasi and so-called teacher to give that sannyas to that person in that orthodox background, it is so difficult. He still gave it. He said the boy seems to be special because at the age of 8 he's come and said, I want sannyasa. And then the boy comes and says, I want to study under you. Please help me study. And he starts studying right, left and center. So the whole life of Adi Shankaracharya is divided into the division of 8. 1 to 8, he was living normally. At the age of 8, he took sannyasa. 8 to 16, multiples of 8. 8 to 16, he was studying the scriptures. Whether it is Bhagavad Gita, whether it is Brahma Sutra, whether it is Upanishads, you name it, he studied. From 16 to 24, another 8 years, he was focusing on writing commentaries. Why people write commentary every time? It is not that they need to have books in their hand. They are not bothered about that. People write commentary because whatever books people have written before, it may be the same topic. They are writing it for the generation which is there now. So Bhagavad Gita, as said by Krishna to Arjuna 5,000 years back, was going on, orthodoxy. Now, Shankara himself is writing commentary about what each verse means, which is called the Bhashyas. So he wrote the commentary so that it can be interpreted by the then generation. It was at that time, everybody was into karma. When we are saying karma, here it is not what we say is karma yoga. Karma is karma kanda, ritualistic portions of the Vedas. Everywhere people were doing more and more and more rituals. The more you focus on rituals, the more the knowledge disappears from the vicinity. More the rituals. The focus is more on ritual. We have to do havan, we have to do yajna, we have to do puja, we have to do this, we have to do housewarming ceremony, house holding ceremony. All these things are going on where the meaning of it, why are we doing it, it disappears. So at that time, this is what is karma kanda. And to fight that karma kanda, Shankara wrote the commentaries of each and every great books, especially the Bhagavad Gita. So he went through the Upanishads, he wrote the commentary for that. He went through the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote a commentary for that. He just went on and on and on from 16 to 24. From 24 onwards, but don't catch me, okay? When you say 24 onwards, no, sir. Shankara started roaming the all over India by the age of 22. I'm just giving an arbitrary figure. Yeah, from 24 to 32, he went all around India and taught everybody. At this time, because of the existence of karma kanda, People have literally forgotten about what Vedanta is. They've forgotten about it. Even now, when we are saying, okay, let's do the subject Vedanta, people say, no, sir, we want to do Bhagavad Gita. They forget that Bhagavad Gita is nothing but Vedanta. This is Vedanta. The whole essence of all these great texts is Vedanta. But the people have forgotten. So at that time, because of ritualistic portions in life, Vedanta was out. Nobody understood the Vedas. Everybody, every Pandit would just come and say, this is what Veda is, and this is the way we should teach everybody. This is the way we are supposed to chant mantras, and we are the authorities of it. Nobody else. They started doing this. As soon as Shankara saw this, he said, let me write the commentaries for everybody. And he started writing. And by 24 to 32, he moved around India at least 4, if not less times, all around India. At that time, there was no plane, there was no train, walking or bullock cart, wherever, and having discussions with people of what their understanding of Vedanta was and Shankara's Advaita philosophy. They used to have a discussion, and the discussion was, there were some people following Shankara, there were other people following the other personality who was Advaita, and the discussion was there. And as soon as Shankara wins, then that person who was discussing, as well as his bandwagon, everybody joins Adi Shankaracharya's group of ideology. So this is the way he went on conquering each and every idea and ideology until Vedanta was established in this whole country. The true essence of Vedas. He approximately, it is said, wrote more than 700 books. He visited all around India at least 5 or more times. All around India. He went on discussing different things. He wrote devotional hymns of Dakshinamurti and Bhajagovindam. Very devotional. And so Bhajagovindam is such a nice thing that smoothly it will go. You will not even realize how the time passes. But take it seriously. It is not only sing song, there's a lot of meaning in that. And we'll see how to go about it, right? So Bhajagovindam is this text. The whole Bhajagovindam focus on 2 attributes which a human being follows throughout his life. 1, studies and analysis in college and schools. After that, they start working. At the age of 18, 19, 20, whatever is the age, the boy or the girl starts working, and they continue working till a ripe old age, until the body doesn't give up, in the hope of acquiring more and more objects and beings around them, to build their own standard of living, to build their own standard of life according to what others perceive you to be. Not ourselves. Standard of life is not according to what you want to live. Standard of life according to what others need to perceive. This is called acquisition, more and more acquiring. Why am I acquiring? Because I need to eat every day. Okay. Have you acquired enough that you can eat now? Yes, yes. Then why are you acquiring more? No, to build a better house. After that, what? No, to build a better house, to build a second house, to build a third house, to have a villa, to have this. More and more acquiring now for security. This is called in Sanskrit dukkha nivritti, where nivritti means getting away, getting rid of dukkha. Tomorrow I should not fall sick and have no money. Tomorrow this should not happen. So that attitude is dukkha nivritti. Therefore, I acquire and acquire constantly. And after acquiring, the focus is enjoying. Whatever I have acquired, I have to enjoy. It is natural that whatever we have acquired, we are supposed to enjoy. But we go and get entangled into this acquisition so much that we forget to enjoy. Because everybody's view is what is happening towards the other person. what is happening there. And by the external behavior of the world and people around, we seem to think that they are happy or sad. And based on their happiness and sadness, I keep on following. I love this example. I keep on repeating these examples. Worth it. There was a boy, a young boy of 18, who had a huge mop of hair on his head, and he was walking by the side of the footpath. As he is walking, there is a signal, red signal, and there is a car standing, a motorcycle standing there, and the motorcycle has got a young boy sitting on the motorcycle, and he's got a girlfriend behind. And so this boy is looking at that boy having a girlfriend behind, and the girl is seeing a car which is in the same signal, a small car, and the husband is driving, the wife is there by the side, and two small sweet Rakshasas, children, they are playing there behind. And the girl is here holding this boy, and she's smiling and looking at those two children. That man who is driving, he is seeing the opposite side of the signal, where there is this elegant man sitting in a suit and hand like this, and he's driving a Mercedes. So he's seeing that guy. And that guy who is sitting in a Mercedes, he is seeing that young guy with a mop of hair, because this fellow doesn't have any hair. And what is the beauty of this advertisement I liked long time back? I don't know whether you'll get it in YouTube or not. Long time back. Beauty is there is no dialogue in this advertisement. It is just one person seeing the other person. So we spend our whole life in acquisition, we don't enjoy. By the time we think of enjoyment, the body is gone. So Bhaja Govindam focuses on both these fronts, acquisition and enjoyment, the two prerogatives of humankind. Whole life is functioning only on that. Ab kya karenge? Chalenge, ghumenge. We'll go here, we'll go there. It's simple, running around without any motive or without any reason. Bhaja Govindam has a small story behind it. Bhaja Govindam is where Adi Shankaracharya is walking by the side of Banaras, the seaside of Banaras. And there he sees a Brahmin sitting on the temple stairs and chanting some shlokas, grammar rules, Panini's grammar rules. The rule that Dukrin Karne means grammar rules. Shankara is far off, and he sees at that end one Brahmin, old man, sitting and studying Sanskrit grammar. He is walking, behind him are 14 people. Shankara had only 5 disciples. But whenever these great masters go somewhere, they take their students along just in case the audience doesn't come. So it's better to keep the students. So 5 students are there, and the other 9 are joining it. Just like that. Chalo, hum bhi saath mein chalte. Let us hear the master. So 9 people are joining the band. The total is 14. Shankara is looking far off at that Brahmin, and he's talking to that Brahmin, which is the shloka of Bhaja Govindam. He is so far off, beyond earshot, that there is no way the Brahmin can listen to him. But Shankara, being an Indian and a teacher at that, is the master of one art which all Indians are great in. We are great in sarcasm. So Shankara knew exactly, and he talks to the Brahmin. But when he's talking to the Brahmin is not hearing, so he is talking to his students. This is called a whiplash effect. When a mother-in-law wants to complain something about the daughter-in-law, it will never be direct. It will be via something. What is the use? Yehi umar mein bhi mujhe kaam karna padta hai. All this is loudly with the son or neighbor, when she knows that the daughter-in-law is within earshot. And daughter-in-law also doesn't keep quiet. So she also talks to her friend on the phone something else regarding the mother-in-law. Whatever you do, she is never satisfied. She's always like this, always complaining to the sun. But then it's okay, and then you move. Everybody is sarcastic. So Shankara has taken that art into a great form. He is talking to that person, old man, but the old person cannot hear. He is talking to his students as a whiplash effect. Why? He is moving everywhere. The students are going everywhere. The teacher is invited to every place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Anybody who sees a great teacher, they'll say, please come to my house and eat something. So Shankara would go. And when Shankara would go, all the 14 people would go. Because free, they are also going. When they are eating, the way they are eating, the way they are indulging and enjoying, Shankara feels, have they forgotten the purpose why they are with me? These 5 students have left their homes, their family, to dedicate themselves to a higher cause to find out what the reality is. But looking at them enjoying the world and its indulgences, there may be a suspicion that they have lost their way. For that, Shankara starts talking Bhajagovindam. Now the title Bhajagovindam is also known as Moha Mudgara. Mudgara means getting rid of. Moha means delusion. Getting rid of one's delusion. All the problem in the world doesn't exist outside. The whole of the Bhagavad Gita talks the same thing. When Arjuna is crying and he's saying there is a problem and there's a fight and this is all the problem is all within one's own self. When I am deluded, when I don't see clearly what's going on and I'm deluded, in delusion, I can think anything, say anything and go away with it and reap the sorrow thereof. I'll keep on crying because I said this, I should not have said. This is delusion. Then at that time, when you are saying something, when you're doing something, why did you not concentrate? It was there, gone. And the word people use, youngsters nowadays, I don't know, sir, I lost it. This lost it is delusion. And the whole story of Bhajagovindam is to remove this delusion. So Moha Madgara, remover of this Moha. The first verse of Bhajagovindam is a chorus. So whenever you are chanting, you chant Bhajagovindam and then you say chorus, say the second verse, again chorus, say the third verse and again chorus. This is the way teacher and the students used to do. So the teacher would chant the new shloka, the chorus was said by the students. Here, what we will be doing, since it's a text, we will be chanting 5 verses of Bhajagovindam every time. Until we complete the 5, then we'll move on to 10. So this is the way we'll go. Bhajagovindam, the first 12 verses, first one is chorus. From verse 2 to verse 12, there are 11 verses or 12 verses. It is called Dwadasa Manjarika Stotram. Dwadasa Manjarika Stotram. Dwadasa, dasa means 10. People say that I don't know Sanskrit. I don't know, sir. Sanskrit is very difficult. It is simple Hindi. Just bifurcate, you will come to know. Dasa, 10. Dwad, do. So, Dwadasa Manjarika. Manjarika means flowers. Stotram, a bouquet of 12 flowers. This is given by Adi Shankaracharya from 2 to 13. Then when Shankara is chanting these verses, he is doing such a beautiful job of it. He is not explaining. Remember, at that time, their intellect was so good that they didn't need any explanation. He was just chanting and the student understood. After the 13 verses, the students got so charged up that each one was attributed with one verse. So from 13 onwards, one chorus, then 2 to 13, 12 verses, 13 onwards to 27 verses, 14 verses, each person chanted. Who chanted what? When did he chant? Did Shankara chant, or it was just said, we don't know? But the quality of the subsequent verses till 27th verse, or till 31 for that matter, is so great that we can as well attribute the whole thing to Shankara only. So 14 students got so inspired to tell the master that, listen, sir, we are not deluded. We know why we have left our homes and relationships and come with you, because we have a higher goal to achieve. So just because seemingly you see us indulging in things, eating a lot of things and playing around, doesn't mean we have lost focus on our own life. Till 27th verse. And from 27 to 31, 4 verses, Shankara is so happy that whatever Vedanta I am teaching the children, the students, they have understood it beautifully. To such a person, last 4 verses are a blessing of Adi Shankaracharya. So first 12 verses are called Dvadasa Mandirika Stotram. The next 14 verses are called Chaturdasa Mandirika Stotram. So Bhajagovindam can be known as Moha Mudgara also, or Dvadasa Mandirika Stotram, Chaturdasa Mandirika Stotram. So if anybody is asking you, what text are you doing? And those who have learned, great. You can just say, oh, I'm into Moha Mudgara. They may not know what it is. They may think it's new. It's Bhajagovindam only. So all this thing is the same thing, Bhajagovindam. Why the example of flowers? You see the flower behind? Why the examples of flower is given in Bhajagovindam is very, very beautifully done. In a city where there are flowers in the garden somewhere, there are people who walk by the side without even looking at them. Such a thing of beauty, but it doesn't catch the sight of the passerby. There are some people like that because they want to do something. They are working. I have to work. I have to work. I have to work. And they are running around everywhere. Since they are running around everywhere, they don't have time to breathe. And as they say, smell the roses. They don't have time. Very busy, very busy, very busy. Nowadays, children. We are taking a children's class. We are taking a teenagers class. Children's class, one mother told me that, sir, actually, my child would like to learn from you Vedanta, but problem kya hai na, sir, the child doesn't have time at all. You know how old the child is? 7 years. The child of 7 years does not have time at all. What to do? So everybody, imagine the parents, everybody is running around, no time, no time, no time. Therefore, they miss the whole thing. One rare one sees the flower, sees that beautiful rose, and enjoys the beauty from far. Rarer still are people who will take time to go towards that rose plant, see it with its thorn, with its leaves, with its beautiful petals, with its covering, and look at it. What beautiful creation this is. Rarer still are the bees. The bees don't see anything in the rose. The red color, the this color, the that color, the beauty, the green, nothing. They are focused only on the nectar. So they directly go inside, suck the nectar and get out. Similarly, there are various types of students in the world. Majority of them are not interested in scriptural studies. Why? It's a waste of time. To tell you honestly, I was one of them when I was younger, much younger than I am now. At that time, it was, what these people, what to listen about Bhagavad Gita, this, that, and these people are just talking like that, out of the hat. They don't have anything else to do. and you work, you go on in your life, you fall down, you cry, you get disappointed, you get dejected, and ultimately you die away. This is majority of people, if not all, majority, from 80 to 90%. Rare is the one who may hear from outside this chant of Bhaja Govinda. When we'll be chanting Bhaja Govinda, there will be people in, it is so nice, sir. Such a beauty. You know, sir, when I listen to the chant, something happens in me. It's like God inviting me and saying, come and embrace me. That kind of a feeling, sir. I don't know how you feel. Do you feel like that? Chanting. And after the chanting is over, off you go. Then different songs, different movies, different items, it goes on. The whole idea. Only chanting and nothing else. From far they see, acha, which text you are taking? Bhaja Govindam. Okay. ये कभी खत्म होगा? अच्छा. ये कितना time लगेगा? अच्छा. Is this costly? Is this all redundant questions except the beauty of the text? But at least they are viewing and they go away. Someday, sometime, when they will heave a sigh of relief कि सब काम खत्म हो गया, तब Bhajo Govindam sunenge, and at that time we will tell others, you know what, when I was younger, I used to recite this whole thing. I met so many people who said, sir, I know the whole Bhagavad Gita by heart. You know, we have a neighbor. The neighbor has a parrot. Even the parrot knows Bhagavad Gita. Just because you are parroting some ideas doesn't mean you know Bhagavad Gita. So idea is to learn and get into it. But this kind of a student, they listen and go and they can just say, this is in Bhaja Govindam. I know, maine suna hai. They are out. But at least they are better than the first category. The third category are the one who dedicate themselves and say, it doesn't matter how much time it takes, I want to listen. Subject seems to be interesting. Subject seems to be spoken by a great master, Adi Shankaracharya. Nobody better than him, who was a master in his own right. And when he is saying something, I may better listen. So I will listen to it. I'll complete the whole text. I'll by heart the verses. I'll get into the meaning of it. I'll complete the whole test so that by the time I can say I completed 31 verses of Bhaja Govinda, and I'll be happy. This is the third category. They will gain quite a lot more than the first two categories because they are studying each and every word and they're trying to implement it in their life. Trying to implement. The fourth is not interested in anything. The B category. The fourth category is that category where they are not bothered whether anybody else is listening. How many views are there? How many people have given thumbs up and thumbs down and sideways? It really doesn't matter. Who is speaking also doesn't matter. Man, woman, or child, it doesn't matter. What matters is, this is the time between this time and that time, as far as this class is concerned, 6 and 7, I am going to sit before the monitor with a pen and paper and with complete focus, everything else switched off. I am going to try to relate with this subject. I am not going to have an affair with Bhaja Govinda. I want to get married to it. Not that to get divorced again. Constantly, whole life. With such an attitude, the person is focusing on what? What did Adi Shankaracharya mean when he said this? How can I bring that in my life? How can I improve my life to be better than what it is yesterday? And with that improvement, once I know the technique of it, is there a possibility where I can spread the word and maybe educate and teach somebody else to be happier than what they were yesterday? That's all. I am going to focus on the essence of Bhaja Govinda with that nectar. And these good people suck the nectar, and then nectar they can't consume themselves, they give it to the world. We are looking for the fourth category of students to devote completely towards this. I give you a guarantee. It's changed lives, and your life will also change. But do it with complete consistency of purpose. So this is the introduction, so-called introduction of Bhaja Govindam. Now, when we are doing Bhaja Govindam, I want you to ask questions. Not in the class, but I want you to ask questions in the WhatsApp and all, because the more you think, better for you. The more you think, why is something said like this? Can you explain it in a different way by examples? Then the answers will be given. People don't want you to think. Quite a lot. Even in the spiritual circles, the people say that no, if you ask anything to the Guru, it's blasphemy. They feel very bad. How can you question God? In fact, Arjuna throughout the Bhagavad Gita continuously questioned Krishna. Constantly he was questioning Krishna. Why is like this? Why is there Sthita Prajna Ka Bhasha? Why, who, what is the Sthita Prajna? How do you do it? I don't think it is, this is the way, Krishna. I don't think you can get rid of agitations by killing of desires. He actually made comments and asked questions. And Krishna, with all his patience, kept on giving answers. The first thing you can learn in these classes, please don't shut your intellect away and throw the key. I want everybody to start thinking on their own. Don't just listen to what people are saying. Analyze what they are saying, how they are saying. Is there any truth in what they are saying? At least analyze. Keep quiet and continuously start studying on your own. That is the right way of taking up any subject and applying it in your everyday life. So with this, let us start the Bhaja Govindam text. As a rule, I told you, we'll chant the first 5 verses of Bhaja Govindam and then I'll explain, yeah, the first verse. Let's start chanting. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudamate. Samprapte Samnihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karane. Muda Jahi Dhanagama Trishna Kuru Sadbuddhim Manasi Vitrishna. Yallabhase Nija Karmopatam Vittam Tena Vinodaya Chittam. Nari Sthana Bharana Bhidesham Drishtva Maga Moha Vesham. Etan Mam Savasadi Vikaram Manasi Vichintaya Varam Varam. Nalini Dalagata Jalamati Taralam Tattva Jivitamati Shaya Chapalam. Vidhi Vyadhyabhimana Grastam Lokam Shokahatam Chasamastam. Yavadvitto Parjana Saktahatavan Nija Parivaro Raktaha. Pascha Jivati Jara Jara Dehi Vartanko Pina Prichati Gehe. भज गोविंदम भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज मूढ़मते संप्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहीं नहीं रक्षति डुक्कृन्करणे संप्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहीं नहीं रक्षति डुक्कृन्करणे. See how easy it is to chant. I am chanting this for past 20 years, so it's easy for me. You may find it a little difficult, but when we do it regularly, it will be okay. Okay, you will get it. Don't worry about it. Not compulsory to know the chanting, but it will help if you know the chanting. So, Bhaja Govindam Adi Shankaracharya is talking to the old man. He is talking, who's beyond the earshot. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Moodamate. Bhaja Govindam. Worship. Govinda, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja. 3 times. Worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. Mooda Mate. Mati, head. Mooda, a foolish head. A person who has a foolish head. Oh, fool. Samprapte samnihite kale. When the appointed time comes, nahi nahi rakshati dukrinkarne. These grammar rules will not save you. It's as simple as that. Bhaja Govindam. Adi Shankaracharya is considered, his name is Shankara, and it is said that his parents wanted a child, therefore they prayed to Lord Shiva. This is another story. Lord Shiva, and therefore Shiva was happy and he said, okay, have a son. And the son was named Shankara. It is said that a whole clan was built around Shankara, which were called the Shaivites. People who prostrated and prayed to Lord Shiva. And the head of the so-called Shaivites, Shiva, who were praying Shiva, Linga, that person is saying Govinda. Govinda represents Krishna or Vishnu, which is another sect called Vaishnavites. So the person who has so-called established Shaivites is telling everybody, please pray to Govinda, indicating that it is only fools who keep on bifurcating gods also. I have heard people listening to satsang, and the lowest kind of people listening to satsang. How do you come to know? Because they don't necessarily compare themselves. They compare ashrams. This ashram is better than that ashram. They compare teachers. My teacher is better than your teacher. I can't understand how is that even possible. It's not possible at all. You know, in olden times, there used to be in the Doordarshan, there used to be this ad, you know, Meri sari, teri sari se safed. How is my sari whiter than yours? Or how is your sari whiter? This is the comparison even with the gurus. If you want to be a true spiritual person, first of all, stop comparing yourself with anybody. Second of all, stop comparing anybody with anybody. Then what do? Compare your present with your own past and try to improve on it. The only comparison which everybody should have in their head is, I am going to compare with what I was before and I should be better than what I am now in the future. That's the way. So Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja is worship. Somebody has translated it as worship. Actually, Bhaja, the real Sanskrit meaning is serve. Serve Govinda. Serve God. So when we misunderstood this word serve and understood as bhaja, as worship, So what do? We go to temples, start ringing bells, and then we have Aarti, Puja, and all the worship rituals are going on. We are just worshipping. So we have become a ritualistic tendency of a society where we are all being into rituals and only that, worshipping. Therefore, many people, when they say in the abroad country, India is a great spiritual country, they show only temples with lot of aartis, lot of dholaks, elephants walking around, dressed up properly. All these are nothing but rituals. But when you ask a Christian, where are you going? Sunday? Oh, I'm going for Sunday Mass. I'm going for service. I'm going for service. What about Friday? Friday also, Friday morning service is there, no? From 8 to 9 morning service is there. Sunday morning also from 6 to 7 service is there. Right from childhood, they have heard this word service as service to God. So when they are educated, when they go to college, when they start working, the same word is gone ahead and said, I'm doing service. Because now they have understood with thought association that when they say service, it is serving God. While in Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja, worship word is not there, it is serving God. Serve the Lord. Serve the Lord. Serve the Lord. Oh, foolish person. Constantly, our granthas keep on saying, do service to everybody. 3 aspects of service. Therefore, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja. One is service through the body. Other is service through the mind. And third is service through the intellect. Attitude of serve. You will only serve when you have. When you are a selfish person, you cannot serve. You'll always think about what can I get from them? How can I take advantage of them? This is a selfish person. And such a selfish person is always agitated because they are not giving. You have to give. When you are doing pranayama, how you do pranayama? You take the thumb like this and breathe in. How much? 8 times. 8. And then you hold and give out how much? 4. Is that the way? No. How is pranayama done? You take in 4, give out 8. You take in 2, give out 4. You take in 8, give out 16. You are giving double than what you have. A person is best known by what he or she gives. So serve with the body. Let the body function in the world. So what, the body is tired. So what, the body will die once they let it go. Doesn't matter. But that attitude of marte marte kuch na kuch kar jaunga. I will try to help somebody or the other while I am still living. This is physically you try to do something. Emotionally, by giving, it means allow the other person to speak. Allow the other person to give their opinion, right or wrong. Why do you want to jump in between and squash their thoughts? Let them learn, even by mistake, let them learn. This is by your mind giving them that rope of emotions. Somebody is emotional, let that person have the emotion, it's okay. I love my this, I love, let them have it, let them have it. It's like children playing, let them play. With the intellect, let the other person have the idea and ideology. Whatever the other person is saying, even if it is complete nonsense and against your ideas and ideologies, which may be true and correct, who are you to tell them anything different? Are you such a big scholar or such a spiritual person more than Shri Krishna? Because the first chapter, Vishada Yoga, despondency of Arjuna, Arjuna is just crying for the first 47 verses. I can't fight, we are making a lot of sin, we should not do this, our houses will be destroyed, people will be destroyed, there will be intercaste marriages. caste, creed, everything he brings, whatever he knows. And he's talking to the Lord, Krishna. And you know what Krishna does? Doesn't utter a single word. Keeps quiet. When only the other person surrenders, when Arjuna surrenders, does Krishna start his sermon in chapter 2. Don't force ideas and ideologies in others by force. This is not education. Education is you bring them out. They know, everybody knows what's the right. Just bring it out. Intellectually helping them grow. Serve in these three, oh Mudamate, rather than sitting and crying every time of, look what happened to me, look what happened to me. Why don't you direct your life to something higher in life? You have a mission, you have a goal, you have the knowledge, you have the granthas. What are you doing? Every time the man goes outside, he comes back in the evening and this whole thing is burnt. The lady wife says, oh my God, what happened? And she removes the shirt and she puts some malam, the ointment. Then next day he goes, again he comes burnt. Every time she's doing the same thing, rubbing the ointment. One day, she says, what's happening? Because it's not recovering. Every time he's getting it more and more burnt. She saw from the window, this fellow, husband of hers, is going there, standing near the bus stand, where, and reclining against that bus rod, that red rod. And that is in sun, it is completely hot, and he's reclining there. He's reclining there, getting hurt on his own, and he's applying solution every time and blaming his stars. Kuch likha hoga. Therefore, this is Mudamate. You have all the things before you. Then give me one reason why can't you apply? Because you don't see the merits of it. That is Mudamate. Mudamate is not a fool. Mudamate is a person who knows that there is a solution, but I will not take it. I will choose to sit, get agitated and cry, but I will not take the right path. This is Mudamate. And then he says, Samprapte sannihite. Samprapte, prapta. Death is already come. As soon as I am born, the only thing certain is death. Baki, everything is uncertain. I am married, I am divorced, I have children, I don't have children, I have mother, father, I don't have mother, father. Everything else can change. One thing is certain. As soon as I am born, one day I will die. This is certain. Therefore, even when the child is 1 year old, and they celebrate, happy birthday to you, and when they cut the cake. So how old is your child? 1 year old. Ulti ginti shuru ho gayi, old. Because that is the cert. Samprapte, the death is there. With me only it's come. Sannihite. Acha, someday we are going to die. At that time we'll do it, sir. We'll see. Someday we are going to die. No. Sannihite. It is already beside me. Standing. Watching me at every time. Saying that he's got some duties and responsibilities and he has got this ration. I want to do this. I want to. Let him do. Chalo. Baad mein leke jayenge. It is with me. It is right in front of me. Sannihite. Kale, death. At that time, when death comes, at that time, when the last moment comes, at that time, when situations are bad and I'm agitated, depressed, and stressed, and nervous breakdown happens, nahi rakshati dukrin karne. All these dukrin karne, grammar rules represents whatever materiality and sensuality I have collected in my life. All the assets I have built and written in my will. Rakshati dukrin karne. None of these is going to save you. Therefore, rather than spending a lifetime of acquiring and then going away and dying away, why don't you live it? Who said not to acquire, but live it with an understanding of how to live it? Don't be a Mudamate. Because whatever you are collecting and with an idea that I've collected relationships, because at the end of the day, relationships will help me. No, I've seen people, Kaurava, Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra had 100 children, not a single child with that fellow. I've seen sannyasi, Shankaracharya sannyasi, when they died, the whole world was with them. You are not looked after by your near and dear ones. Get this thing out of that head of yours. You are not looked out of with your near and dear ones. You are looked out by your own karma. When you are doing good karma, you live peacefully and happy. When you are living with wrong karma and collecting everything, you will live a very disgusted life. Till now, whatever life I've lived doesn't matter. But from now on, let us chart a way through these 31 verses to make life beautiful. That is the summation of the whole Bhaja Govinda. We'll meet next class. Thank you. Oh